Alright, y'all, so do you guys remember my last video where I talked about the R211s and the R262s? Well, I'm pretty sure some of you guys do, some of you guys don't, because I've been reading you guys' comments, and I've been seeing that there should be a few recommendations. I don't think that's a few, I think that's a lot. So let me show you my last video where I talked about the R211s and R262s. So, 2 years ago, I made this video on May 17th, 2020. It is now May 18th, 2022. And yesterday was its 2-year anniversary. So, I've been reading you guys' comments, and I've been seeing that, and this one says, if these were the new announcements, they would have been all 79 already. And of course, yes, this comment right here a couple of years ago was actually true, because when I showed you guys this video, the OPVVE video, it was only HimSim content, and they actually have announcements, but I'm not sure if I can display them to you. And it says 1 year later, nothing happened, and that's actually correct, but they're also incorrect, because R211s actually got delivered. So let's go back. So now that you guys know the last video, or I think some of you guys for 2 years ago, and I'm going to be breaking down and putting together some of the mistakes that were made in the last video, and I'm going to be putting them into today's video. I'm going to be correcting and fixing all of the mistakes so that everything can be in complete order. So, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe, turn on post notifications, and yeah, let's get in. But before we get in, I just want to say that I'm sorry for those of you guys that actually made the original content. I'm very sorry, deeply sorry for not crediting you in the last time. So, I will be crediting you guys this time. So, if you guys have made these original photos like how I'm crediting this person. I don't know who made this photo, but this person is getting credit. So the credits will also be in the description if you guys don't have like a brief understanding of what's going on. For now. Alright, so first thing I want to talk about is the R211 car assignments. Now, first of all, R211's car assignments are going to be spectacularly diverse, and they're going to be excellent. An excellent train. Well, it's going to be an excellent thing that's going to be happening, that's ever happened to me, MTA, first of all. Of course, I do have plans on coming into Toronto, but I still have love for MTA. Now, the car assignments. First of all, I'm going to talk about the deliveries. So, first of all, the first 5 car sets, 4060, 4064, were delivered last year in 2021, I believe, sometime in June. And then on that same month, I believe, or I think in July or in August, I don't know, but please tell me in the comments when the second sets were delivered. Of course, 4065 through 4069 were delivered on that same year. So, a full 10 car set was delivered, however, on the same year, but I believe on different months. So, now we're going to talk about the car assignments. Yes, you guys are not going to expect the R211s to come into service very early. So we're going to be discussing on the car assignments. Now, first of all, the A and C lines, basically just the 8th Avenue. Now, I would personally say that the R211s would be good for the R46s, because they really need to they really need to retire, first of all, but I'll talk about that sometime soon later in the video. And basically, the R246s have been running on the A line for very much too long, and I feel like it's time for them to say goodbye to running on passenger service for good. I'm not saying I hate the R46s, but I think it's just time for them to go. Same with the R44s, even though retired from passenger service from NYCT Transit, they're still on Staten Island. Once again, I do not hate the R46s nor the R44s. I'm just saying that I think they passed their prime, and they're like more than like 40 years old or something. So, and of course they're 70s babies. So, what more could you expect? All right. So I did remember that the R42s, R40s, I think, and the R38s, I believe, actually ran on these before the R211s even existed, because that was the time that none of the new technologies actually existed up until the 90s and the 2000s. Well, we're not going to talk about 2001, unfortunately, because that's going to anger some of you. But yeah, other than 2001, the new technology trains actually rocked the world. In 2008 and 2009, R160s were originated. Alright, so let's get on with the next one. Alright, anyways, sorry, not the next one. The next car assignments. So yeah, R211s, big change for the 8th Avenue. So next up, we have the B and D lines. I believe the Bedford lines. I believe. Now I would think that the R211s don't really need it, but I feel like they do, because they really need some new technology as well. So the B and D trains would definitely need R211s, because the last time I ever saw a new technology train on the B and D lines was possibly an R160. Well, I didn't actually see it, but it was last seen, and then just returned back to regular service on the ACE LNQ R&W. Well, I think it's still on the R train, but I think it's possible for the R68 or R46 to be in the R train. But I will be talking about that pretty soon. So the B and D trains would possibly introduce R211s to be welcomed into the system. So once again, R68s, R46s, they might have to go. Again, I don't hate any of these trains. They're good and all, but they just have to go. They're kind of old. Next up, we now have the N, Q, and W trains, the one y'all have been waiting for. Acceptable R211s can be into service right away. Put them on the N, Q, and W trains, because I feel like that they need to be a replacement. They have to be replacing the R68s and R46s, and they are, and they have to be on the NQW trains, because the R160s are not there anymore, and this made a lot of people angry. So R211s, yes, put them on the NQW trains. The rest, I think they're okay, at least until the R160s retire, which I'm not sure that's going to be. So it could either be until like 2020, 2030, 2026, whatever. I think possibly like the T1s, but that doesn't matter right now. Next up, I'm going to be talking about some of my mistakes that I made in it. But before I get to that, just recently the R211Ts were built. A full freaking 10 car set was made, and I will be showing you guys that right now. The credits will be somewhere in this video, but I'm not saying I'm not going to credit anyone, but I will credit either way. Let me show you guys the photo right now. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so this is what the R211Ts look like at the time. Got 42, 56 credits to Reddit for the photo. Actually, I am going to be saying, but these are what they look like. 4256 full set. Alright, moving on to the mistakes I've made in the last video. So, I've been hearing about these announcements about the prototype R211 and the R262. Yes, it is clear that I did make a mistake on the R211, and I'm going to show you guys the video of the mistake that I made. First, I'm going to show you guys the clip of it where I made a mistake. Then I'm going to show you guys the video of the R211 prototype, and then I'm going to be showing you guys the video of the actual announcements and what they actually sound like. Here they are. First, the R211. This was taken by DJ Hammers in 2017 of the mock-up version in Hudson Yards, 34th Street, in the 7 line. As you can see, it's pretty cool. Let's take a look at the R262 Interior. Unfortunately, there was no mock-up, so I had to post up some open BVE subway pictures of the R262. That's right, some open BVE R262 pictures. Let's take a look at the R262 Interior. This is an R262 Interior. You can see half of it, but not full of it. As you guys saw in the R262 clip, that, my friends, is an open BVE video. It looks similar to the R211s, but since it's from an IoT division, it basically is the same as the R211's Interior. And yes, I deeply apologize to the person that made the R262 video. So yeah, when I said it, you only see half of it, I was kind of wrong. You did see it. However, he was just pretty much chasing it afterwards, or roughing it. I don't know what he was doing, but I pretty much said something that kind of made a lot of you guys kind of upset, and yeah, I'm here to correct the issue. So the R262 is basically the same thing as the R211, and since it's IoT, it will look very similar to it. And when it comes sometime in the near future, you guys will be surprised, like pretty much I am. But I just can't wait for the R262s to actually get service, and I believe they're going to start making it sometime in 2023 is what I heard. And yes, the R211 Interior, what you saw, was actually correct. However, the gangways were incorrect on the R211 and R211S. Or should I say R211A and R211S? Because the only train that has the open gangways is currently the R211T version. So that will be running on Staten Island Railway. Moving on to the second mistake, the announcements.
This is 59th Street, Columbus Circle. Transfer is available for the C, B, D, and 1 trains. Transfer is available to the M5, M7, M10, M20, M104 buses. This is a Brooklyn-bound A Express train. The next stop is 42nd Street, Port Authority bus terminal.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
This is a Queens-bound W local train. The next stop is Rector Street.
Alright guys, so now that I showed you guys the 3 clips, here's my corrections. So the R211s actually sounded like the R179s. Like the R179s have the next stop is, and when it is actually announced what the next stop is going to be. And yeah, that's what the R211s are going to sound like. So a lot of y'all are going to be confused. Does it sound like the R179s? Well, yes. And of course, I did not, unfortunately in the video, it did not play any door chimes. So I'm sorry if the door chimes didn't play. But I just know that the R211s are going to have the same door chime as the R160s and R143s. Well, mainly the R160s. And the door motors are pretty much different than the other ones. So there goes the first correction. So the second correction I'm going to be making is the R262 mistake. Yeah, there were announcements. However, they just didn't display because it was basically just a OpenBBE video. I'm gonna try to show you guys what the R260 announcements are actually going to sound like.
This is a Flushing Main Street bound 7 local train. The next stop is Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue.
Now that's what I think the R260 announcements are going to sound like. If they aren't, let me know in the comments. But I think they're going to sound like that. So there goes the second correction. Now we're going to be moving on to the third correction, which I am going to be making, was the R211s coming sometime in 2025. So now, I did make a mistake saying that the R211s were going to come in 2025, and they did. The R211s actually came out last year, and they're currently testing it this year. So they're not going to come in 2030, 5 years later. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you guys. And now we're going to be talking about its replacements. I'm sure a lot of y'all know the replacements for the R211s. So let me show you guys some of the replacements the R211 is going to be replacing some of the trains. Well, I might talk about them because I'm not sure if I can find the photos. Anyways, here are the trains that the R211 will be replacing. Alright, so I'm currently using Wikipedia for this one, so that's going to be all the trains that I heard is going to be replacing. So all the remaining R44s, which are going to be replaced by the R211Ts, and the rest of the remaining R46s, and I believe the R68s as well, which was never mentioned. However, the R32s did make its retirement in January 9th, 2022 of this year. So rest in peace R32s, but the R44s and R46s and possibly R68s are not going to be there for that long. So you guys better up in the R46s and R44s while you can, because when they end their service and when the Pullman trains start retiring, that's it. It's over. There's nothing else you can do about it. You can't put them into Staten Island. It's just going to be scratched for good. However, the subway car of the R44 was actually reserved at the Transit Museum, and I believe the R46 will also be reserved at the Transit Museum, along with the R68 when it comes to an end. And I heard that the R32s, the first sets, are currently reserved, at the New York Transit Museum, so you can go check that out. You can take the train to Borough Hall, and you should be able to find a train. Not a train, but the train museum. Yeah. Alright. Now, so moving on to the next thing. Now, another correction I'm going to be making is this one, where I stated the R262s may enter service in 2030 through 2035. I think I mentioned that one in my last video. But they're expected to be in service by 2025 and 2030. And yes, I was correct. All R62s and R62As. And it is currently to be dated amongst the delivery, and of course, the build date. They say that it's probably going to be built by Kawasaki. This is all of the stuff that I found. The 5-car train set, the doors are going to be 58 wide set doors per car, and possibly I'm not sure about the max speed yet, but that's to be announced pretty soon. Next is the R262's car assignments. Now, I believe when the R262 enter service, let's talk about some of the other lines, some of the lines that really needs to be added. Now, first off, the 1 and 3 trains, that is a must need. The R262s are most likely going to be needed into service because the R262s and R262As have ran in there for a long time, probably since day one. And R262s would make a great replacement for it. So the 1 and 3 is a must need. Next up, the 6 line. Yes, the 6 is pretty much desperate for new technology trains at the time, because after the struggle of removing all R262As and putting them on the 7 line, and pretty much removing all R262As and putting them on the 6 line, I feel like that's a must need. Next up, the 4 train line. I'm not sure if they really need R262s, but I would highly recommend it because why not? But for the rest, like the 5, the 7 train, they're okay. 5 and 7 are alright. The 7 train, I feel like it has enough R188s to begin with, so yeah, just keep the R188s and yeah. So the 5 and 7 and the 2, of course, are fine for now. Alright, let's talk about the final thing. The final thing / mistake that I've actually made was the motor. So a lot of y'all have been commenting saying that the motor's not gonna have the demons, and yes, a lot of y'all are correct, because it's actually having this motor, which I'm about to show you. Here it is. Some of you guys did see that I forgot to play the video, but yeah, credits to TJ Fanner. And yeah, that's the R211 motor. I was wrong about it. The R262 motor is to be announced. Alright, y'all, so that is it for today's video. This is the R211 differences and review version 2.0. Now I'm going to review it. Now, I think the R211s are going to be a great addition to the MTA. Should have said that earlier, but the R211s is a must get added. However, it will be added in some parts of the MTA, so yeah. So I'll give the R211s and R262 pretty much an 8.6 out of 10. So